الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. Last week we discussed about Tafsir and Tawil. And we discussed about the differences between what is called Tafsir and what is called Tawil. So when we begin our Tafsir, you know what we mean by Tafsir and what we mean by Tawil. And we said, of course, in Arabic, it's like this, Tafsir, and then this At-Tawil. So I'm going to ask those of you who were here last week few questions regarding last week's lesson. Then inshallah tonight we'll conclude it nicely, and then we know we have reached certain position which when we enter into Tafsir, things will not be difficult for each and every one of us. Now, last week we discussed first as to what is the root of Tafsir and what is the root of Tawil. Now I ask a question. Tafsir, who can tell me the roots of the term Tafsir?
Ibn Mansour, the word Tafsir is from Fasada.
We have opinions. And I said we have two major opinions. The first opinion about the word Tafsir is from the word Fa. Sarah. Question before we go forward. What is the benefits of knowing the roots of a term? Especially in a lesson of this nature, Quran. What is the benefit if we try to know the roots of a term or terminology? You can tell. Why do we emphasize on the root of a particular term? Who can tell?
Roots is the basis.
Is the basis, but why?
The information as to what is meant by the terms used over it.
And then what again?
Put it into
Why
practice.
does it use?
No, why it is? No.
To put into practice.
Yeah, sort of. I let him rephrase my question. You know, in every field of studies, even in our own English world, when you are dealing with a terminology, first you try to know the literal meaning of that terminology, isn't it? Once you know the literal meaning, then you go to the field of that particular studies. That's what they call technical. Now, in trying to understand the literal meaning of a term, we go through the roots of that particular term. Okay? Why do we go there? That's my question. Why do you go to the root? In other words, why do we first go to the literal meaning of the term before we go to the technical meaning of the term?
To understand clearly what it exactly means.
Okay?
And when we are talking about it, we can explain to others what it means.
Okay, lovely.
We can extract more meanings then from the root.
Lovely.
Clarity.
Yeah, because it makes life easier. Sometimes even you find out that the literal meaning is the same as the technical meaning. So understanding the root and the literal meaning is like a halfway understanding what the term is all about. You come to me, you take a book, you read it, and then you come across a term. And it's like the term is not making sense within the context it appears. The best way to get to know what it really means is to know the roots of that terminology. Once I understand the root, then it's easy for me to link it. So therefore we said not to take my time because last week, I'm just recapping because most of you were not here last week. The word Tafsir, number one, from Ibn Mansour. Ibn Mansour, as we mentioned, is a philologist, which I explained to you what philology is all about. And tonight, inshallah, you will see later on, I will touch on it also a little bit as to what is the work of the philologists, because they also help a lot. They are jurists in language. Philologist is someone who is expert in language. He is able to tell you the root of a particular term and the root of a particular word. So now Ibn Mansour is the first philologist who said the root of a term, Tafsir, is from the word Fasara. And now the word Fasara, what does it mean?
It means to make things clear.
To make things clear. To make things clear. Things that are not clear for you, when you come to it, you try to make it clear to others. Of course, number one, you make it clear to yourself, and then number two, you make it clear to others. So therefore, the word tafsir is to make things clear. It means to make clear those verses of Quran. That's fine. Number two, what is the root of? No, not the Tawil. That is Ibn Manzur, okay? Ibn Manzur, Jayyid. And now we have the second. Who can tell me?
Jarjani.
Jarjani is also philologist. Jarjani, there are so many philologists, but this is the common ones. And then what did he say, Mama?
Then the root is safara.
The root of the word tafsir is safara. Safara. And what does it mean?
To unveil.
To unveil or to disclose. Okay? To unveil or to disclose. But there is another meaning for this word safara. Traveling. You see, traveling in Arabic is called safara. Now question. Why traveling is called safara, and how do you link it with this?
When you travel with somebody, you can know that characters of...
Because during the traveling you are able to discover the character and the manners of this particular person. Therefore it's called safara.
I have a question.
Now
Jarjani, he said the root is safara.
Now.
But he has changed the position.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. In surf, in morphology, there is no problem. Sometimes you will find a word different, but the root of it is like that. So in morphology, it gets changed and transfer until therefore understanding the root of a word is the best thing to do if you want to really become master in a language. Sometimes not the way you see that word is the way it is deduced. This is what we do in surf, morphology. You see, because surf deals with the words. The letters rather, not the words, because the ending of the words is nahu. Yes.
Is there any other common example for surf where the letters have been transposed?
Yeah, a lot, man. I cannot recall, but I will recall later. Yes, there are so many examples. There are so many examples. So now I will recall, inshallah. Safara, you see, is like that. Now, this safara, we said to disclose or to discover, you see. So therefore, the same thing, there is no difference between making things clear and to discover. Both of them, I think they are saying one thing at the same time. To make things clear and to discover. It means these verses that I don't know its meaning, now I'm discovering the meaning. And I'm disclosing the meaning. Therefore, we said, what is the definition of tafsir?
Tafsir is defined as the understanding of words of Quran. As far as possible for men, it is called the interpretation of the Quran.
As far as possible for man to understand. That's what we call tafsir. Because not everybody can reach to the kunu, to the reality of everything. So as far as you can, you do it. Therefore we call it also, of course that is the translation, the interpretation of the verses of Quran. Now quickly, let's go. What did we say about ta'wil?
It's from the root word awala.
The word ta'wil is from the root wa-la. You see? And we said awala means what?
To retain.
To retain. To retain. Not to retain.
Return.
To retain. Yes, not retaining. To retain.
Please write awala in Arabic.
أول يؤول تأويلا. So the madi of it is أول. يؤول تأويلا. You see? So therefore to return something. نؤوله إلى مكانه. We return it to its position. So that is what ta'wil is all about. And then what did we say about ta'wil? No, not example. I explained something before the example. What did we say?
It is the in-depth study of the words.
It is?
The in-depth study, the exploration in depth of the words of Quran.
The exploration. The in-depth exploration of the verses of Quran. In-depth, you go into deeper meaning of the verses of Quran. And today we'll see who agree with Tawil and who do not agree with Tawil. But when we talk of Tawil, it's not only understanding the apparent meaning of the verses. Tafsir is the understanding of the apparent meaning of the verse of Quran. So apparent meaning is not like when I read the translation in the mosque, that is tafsir. That's not tafsir. That's just translate, common, normal translation, which of course simple ones you are able to understand in your own language. But there are deep ones you need the tafsir to understand the apparent meaning of those verses of Quran. But when we talk of ta'wil in our school of thought, is in-depth exploration of the verses of glorious Quran. Now I gave you 2 examples, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Who can give me the first example?
55:19.
Oh, yeah, that's not example, eh? That is
Example from the Quran.
no, that is an ayah to prove the concept of ta'wil. Quran 3 verse 7. It is an ayah to prove that ta'wil exists, because Allah in that verse used the word ta'wil. Quran 3 verse 7, chapter Al-Imran. وَمَا يَعْلَمُ تَعْوِيلَهُ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Nobody knows its ta'wil except Allah and Rasul and those who are firmly grounded in knowledge. So the word ta'wil is just to prove that something of that nature exists in Quran. Although not all Muslims agree to that, which we'll explain now inshallah. So therefore, this mama is a verse to prove that there is ta'wil in Quran. But now, who can give me an example of ta'wil, a typical example of ta'wil from Al-Bayt, which I thought
55:19.
Quran 55 verse 19. What is the verse? Marajal Bahraini Yaltakiyan. You see, Yaltakiyan. Bainahuma barzakhun la yabghiyan. Now, what is the English?
He has made the 2 seas to flow.
2 seas. Here is our word. The 2 seas to meet together. Here, when you come to Tafsir, ulama will explain to you. On the day of Qiyamah, there will be 2 seas like this meeting. Although today in the world, those as I explained to you last week, we have a lot of examples like that. But now, when you go to deeper meaning, you are an in-depth exploration of this particular thing for somebody to unknown.
So there should be something physical also in this world.
Physical how?
Like the example.
It depends. It depends on the tafsir. Tafsir, it could be physical today, or it could be on the day of Qiyamah. Like for instance, Marj al-Bahrain, I said, there are examples even in South Africa, in Cape Town, there is example there. So like that. But now this one, now we go deeper down, we explore. I just want you to understand what is Tawil, and it is unique to Shias.
Yeah.
Not all the madhahib agree to that, you understand? It's so unique. There are few Sufis who are, but unique to the school of thought of Ahlul Bayt.
It says the Nur of Fatima and is from the Nur of
The C one is Ali and one is Fatima.
From whom
This is the Ta'wil. So they said Maraj al-Bahraini yaltaqiya. The 2 seas that meet, it means one sea is Ali. That is the Ta'wil, which of course all Ta'wil, by the way, it is from just the riwayat and the hadith of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu. Mostly find Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salatu salam reported an Abi Abdullah Ja'far alayhi salatu salam will tell you in-depth meaning of this is like that. That is number 1. Number 2, we gave you another example. 55, 22. Who can read it for me? Quran 55 verse 22. Eh? Al-lu'lu'u wal marjan. Okay. What is the English wording? Pearls and coral. Very good. He also says Tawil. Majority of Muslims don't agree, but this is unique to the Shias and the followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu salam. We say pearls is what?
the Imams.
Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein. You see, yakhruj from this Bahrain, yakhruj minhuma al-lu'lu'u wal-marjan. You get the point. So now you have the 2 seas that meet. So from these 2 seas you get the pearls and then the coral. So now these 2 things, it means Hassan and Hussein coming from Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. This is Ta'wil. The third Ta'wil, I don't know if I give you.
No, you give two.
I gave you Kaf, Ha, Ya, Ain. So it also we get it from Imam al-Zaman. We have it in our book that Imam al-Zaman narrated what transpired in the time of Zakaria alayhi salatu wasalam, when somebody came and asked him the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then eventually the person asked Imam, and Imam explained the ta'wil of this verse. Ta'wil, as I said, is only unique to Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam. Different between ta'wil and tafsir. Therefore you find most of the Muslims, even Shias, we don't focus more on the ta'wil, you understand? We go more we go more on the tafsir, because tafsir is what is much needed. Now we said this kaf is talking, and haya answer is talking about Karbala. So we said this kaf is Karbala, and this haya means halakat. Mashallah. What's the meaning of halakat? Destruction, slaying, problems. Ya means the killer of Hussein. This is from Imam al-Zaman. Ain means atash, yani thirst. And then Sad means fantastic. Sabr is ta'wil. This is what ta'wil is all about. Now I'll give you another example, and I'll give you homework on this inshallah, because I want you to crack your brain a little bit. Now another example I give you, go to Quran 2, verse 205. Quran 2, verse 205. Yani chapter Baqarah, verse 205. Now you read for me, Mama. Let's see. Quran 2. Quran 2. Okay. Yani chapter Baqarah, verse 205.
Got it.
Read the Arabic first, because I want to see your Arabic reading how it is. You see, Sajjad, another word is kawala. Then you say kala. Kawala. But because of some, you say kala. Ja'a. Example is jawa'a. See, sarf is very good. You have to learn sarf. Yes, read the Arabic. Shabar, hey, I want to see.
I have to turn the pages.
Oh, you are using the phone. Yeah, phone is okay.
It takes ages. I have to turn the pages.
Allahu Akbar. It takes ages. Ya Hussein. That is the Quran. Sajjad, give him. Let's see his Arabic recitation.
The first time on the top. Turn the phone. No.
You have. You can read it. Okay, Ahsan. Tafadhal, Habib. Quran 2, verse 205. Okay, that is chapter Baqarah. Baqarah 205. Ahan Shabbat, Bismillah. Naam.
وإذا تولى سعى في الأرض ليفسد فيها ويهلك الخلق والنسل والله لا يحب الفساد.
Inshallah, you'll practice a lot. Now, read the translation for me.
And when he turns back, he runs along in the land that he may cause mischief and destroy the people.
Very
God
good.
does not love the mischief.
You see, here we also have ta'wil. It's referring to who? This is ta'wil from the riwayat of Ahlul Bayt. They said it's referring to Muawiyah. The ta'wil of this. You read all our books, you'll find it there. So therefore, ta'wil is not only always you see it positive. If it is also a negative, if that's why you have so many ta'wilat in Quran, and that is the homework I'm going to give you. I want everybody go and make your own research and come up with at least 5 ta'wilat from your own, and you will find a lot from the Quran. Read the books of Shias, you will find a lot of ta'wilat. Okay, so now this the one sa'a tawalla sa'a liyufsid al-harsa wal nasl. He said the ta'wil of it is not referring to anyone but referring to Muawiyah. This is just a typical example of ta'wil. Now we go next question. I ask a question we all discuss together. Is ta'wil prohibited? Because last week, you remember, we did that self-opinion interpretation. I concluded self-opinion interpretation of Quran. That's a question. Is ta'wil prohibited self-opinion interpretation of Quran, because we know self-opinion interpretation is haram. We spoke about it. And we discussed with you different types of tafsir. If you remember very well, I discussed with you about 4 or 5 types of tafsir of Quran. How all those tafsir are taken by the scholars. Some is based on history, some are based on mysticism, some are based on for instance, fiqh. There are different types of tafsir of Quran. Now, we said ta'wil. So question is ta'wil self-opinion interpretation of Quran? What is your opinion? Before I give you the opinion of our school of thought, from your own perspective, what do you think? Because self-opinion, it means you take the tafsir from your pocket and give to people.
It's very dangerous.
Huh? Why is it not possible? It looks like it's a self-opinion also.
Self-opinion cannot come to the final position as to what was the actual purpose of that sign.
Hajj Ahmad,
Yeah.
that's a good point.
Because we don't have that enough knowledge to give the self-opinion.
Yeah.
It cannot be allowed.
By who? Okay, of course we don't have much knowledge, so we cannot bring our own interpretation. Okay.
So we have a lot of ayat in the Quran that we say apply to science.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be ta'wil? Because we're applying a scientific theory, which is sort of our opinion.
It's a very good point. It's another set of ta'wil.
Yeah.
It's another, although you may not specifically have a riwayah from Al-Bayt, but it matches with the reality on the ground. So therefore we have that also. When I discuss with you the 2 principles that permit ta'wil from Quran, one of them is that.
It's the same when using philosophical.
Absolutely, very important. Any other example? Now look, this question is a very simple question. Although there are a lot of debates between scholars, scholarly debates, as to whether ta'wil is prohibited self-opinion interpretation of Quran. There are so many debates between our great scholars.
So if I do tadabbur, even if it is for my own self, I will be forming opinion according to my point.
Yeah, but you are not imposing it on anyone. And you are not saying that is the gospel truth from the Quran. It's for you. So that's not a problem. The problem is you do your own discovery, reflection, and you impose it to say this is gospel truth. That is what is dividing the ummah today because of self-opinion interpretation of Quran. If all the ummah will take from Prophet ﷺ and from Ahl-Bayt ﷺ, there wouldn't be any division between the ummah. But because this one want to interpret Quran on his own whim, and this one on his own, therefore it's a problem. Naturally, Mama, if all of us have to go and reflect and ponder, we will come up with different opinions and different understanding. That is good. Islam encourages tadabbur, it encourages. أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ أَمْ عَلَى قُلُوبٍ أَقْفَالُهَا. Why can't you ponder over those verses, or those verses are just blocked on your heart and you cannot do anything? So we need to ponder and reflect. But if I ponder and reflect and I arrive at a result, I cannot impose it. In fact, the best way to ponder is after you have pondered, after you have reflected, and then you are able to come or arrive at a certain conclusion, then you go to what Ahlul Bayt taught. You go to what Rasulullah taught, and then you bring it and you put yours there and see where you fit in. By so doing, you are able to assess yourself whether you are a good thinker or you are someone who reflects positively. But not when I reflect and I ponder, I impose that on the ummah and I write my tafsir books and it is published, it is printed all over the world, everybody is grabbing a copy, and now it becomes like another tafsir of Quran, which we don't know the tail of it, and the head of it, and the neck of it. That is what is causing problem. But reflection is highly recommended in Islam. Yeah.
So what about the tafsir that are funny?
Yeah, very good question. Irfani, not all of them are okay. Some of them definitely are. There are cultures that influence tafsir of mysticism. You see, some of them are good. How are good? You find a riwayah from Ahlul Bayt, you take it. For instance, when you take Tafsir al-Mizan, for instance, he has earmarked different departments for different discussions, okay? Sometimes you find, based on Irfan, what he discussed, and he will give you a proof from Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam. But sometimes you find some of the tasawwuf, You read their tafsir, the person doesn't give you any proof from anyone, and then when you go deeper, you realize that no, there's a culture prevailing somewhere, and that culture, and therefore Allah when you look at this introduction of Mizan, he said Persian culture and Indian culture influence some of these tafsir. And he's talking about mystical way of interpreting the verses of Quran. So that is very, very important. But
so then none of them are tafsir, they're all ta'wil then?
Yeah, they are all ta'wil, but definitely you have good ta'wil and you have wrong ta'wil. And yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask this.
No problem.
Kaf, ha, and all
Yeah,
that.
and yes.
Now it has been said by Ahl al-Bayt.
Yeah.
Now
Yes.
since it has been said by Ahl al-Bayt, it is just like if I say 2 + 2 is equal to 4.
Yes, it's correct.
But then I should know to write down Allahu Alam.
Yeah, no. The reason why mostly when they do, they write Allahu Alam, because they said we will try to give our tafsir, but nobody can reach the knowledge of Allah. Therefore, you see Rasulullah medu Rabbi zidni ilma. It doesn't mean that I'm doubting in what I'm doing, you understand? But the other says still, upon all the knowledge that I have, my knowledge cannot reach the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Sajjad made a good point. You see, ta'wil, yes, you may have different forms of ta'wil. Sufis will come, philosophers will come, theologians will come. But the common standard, the criteria, or what is pivotal when it comes to ta'wil is what is reported from Ahl al-Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam. If it's not from Ahl al-Bayt and someone else, and it cannot be proven from the teachings of Ahl al-Bayt, we cannot take it. So therefore in your own research, you come across a lot of times, especially Sufi world. You know Sufi world, there are so many ta'wilat. The best way to check it, just look and ask, what does Ahl al-Bayt say about this? Once you have a riwayah from Ahl al-Bayt, then you can bank on it. If you cannot have anything from Ahl al-Bayt, then we cannot bank on it. So therefore, based on this question, there are so many scholarly debates between the scholars, great scholars.
I just wanted to ask.
No problem.
Atiullah.
Wa ati'u ulil amri minkum.
Now ulil amri minkum. For us, we know that it is the Ahlul Bayt.
That's tafsir, that's not ta'wil, that's correct, proper.
Yeah, but now the others believe that like...
Yeah, they give another tafsir. They said even the leaders of the country, the president, whether Muslim or non-Muslim, some of the tafsir, they said they are also ulil amri minkum. It's like the president of a country, you follow. We said no, because if you say ati'ullah, I give an example, and these things we'll see them when you enter tafsir. Then he said wa ati'ur rasul. Then you said wa. What is important is this conjunction. This they call it the arful atf. It joins the previous to the one, the next. What does it mean? It means Allah said ati'ullah, obey me. The fact that he brought wa, it means this obedience to Allah is being transferred to Rasulullah. That's what we call harf al-atf. So we tell them, Yallah, Allah said, wa ati'ur rasul, wa ulil amri minkum. That wa. You cannot say the position of Rasulullah, the position of any Tom, Dick and Jerry, any leader you have on the face of the universe. It doesn't make sense because of harf al-atf. If to say Allah has changed the tense completely, fine. But Allah said, ati'ullah, wa ati'ur rasul. Even differences, Mama, we have a lot of differences on tafsir, not ta'wil. Ta'wil, as I said, is very unique. Not everyone can come up with ta'wil. Tafsir itself, we have the word wali. Tafsir of the wali itself is causing mayhem between the Muslims. Some said friend, some said a leader, some said master, some said who. So how do you get the right one from the, how do you separate the wrong one from the right one? You rather go back to Rasulullah and try to get a riwayah from Rasulullah to support your argument and your stand.
Was that from the
Now,
other Quranic ayat also? From the other Quranic ayat also?
Yeah.
It's possible to get the same meaning?
Yeah, tafsir Quran, yes, you can get. But to vindicate yourself nicely, get them another wire and support it. Because most of their tafsir is not tafsir Quran by Quran. Although to us the best form of tafsir is tafsir of Quran by Quran. Through Quran you interpret. But many know, he said that Mullah said this, that Mirza said this, that Sheikh said this, that Sufi said this. We said no. Our criteria is to go to Ahl Bayt al-Asma wa Tahara. So therefore there are opinions. The first opinion is the opinion of the majority of the Sunni scholars. So you just have to take note of the opinion. There are opinions as to whether ta'wil is prohibited self-opinion interpretation. Number one, majority of Sunnis, this is just to take note only, majority of Sunnis, when I say Sunni, mean Sunni scholars, because laymen and followers, they don't know anything, they cannot make any research, these are for the scholars, are of the opinion that Ta'wil is prohibited, self-opinion, interpretation of Quran. Majority of them. So the few which are not part of the majority, maybe it could be Sufis and some other Sunnis. But the majority, they don't believe. They are of the opinion that Ta'wil is typical, is prohibited, self-opinion, interpretation of Quran. You end it up. That is, and they said a vivid example is this Ta'wil which we say. That's a vivid example. It's self-opinion, so we cannot bank on it according to them. But now you come to the Shias. Shias, on the other hand, said no. Ta'wil is accepted so long as it is from Ahlul Bayt alayhimu salatu wassalam. So now you realize that not Ta'wil from a scholar of Shia who cannot prove it from Ahlul Bayt. The Ta'wil which is accepted has to be proven from Ahlul Bayt. So you understand, when we say we hold the opinion of Ta'wil, it doesn't mean that every person who can teach you, he tells you Ta'wil, you must demand the reference from that person. Where are you getting it from? Is it from your own self or from Ahlul Bayt? So long as the person is able to prove that it is from Ahlul Bayt, then we take that type of a Ta'wil. Ta'wil, if it's not from Ahlul Bayt, we cannot take it completely. So therefore, understand the point. Sunnis majority said no Ta'wil. Why? It is prohibited self-opinion, interpretation of Quran. You rely only on the Tafsir, that is the understanding of the apparent meanings of the verse of Quran. Shia said no, Ta'wil has to be there. And which Ta'wil do we accept? We accept Ta'wil only from Ahlul Bayt alayhimu salatu wasalam. It means they are the only ones who can in-depth explore the meanings of the verses of Quran, and I gave you the proof right from the beginning. The proof is that Quran 3 verse 7. Whoever asks you, that's the only proof we have. Although you may have verses of Quran where the word Ta'wil is used, but this is a very clear one. Our Ta'wil is only from those who are firmly grounded in knowledge. We don't want. But of course, when you go to Sunnis, you may say, how do they interpret this verse? They said that Ta'wil, it means Tafsir. So the Tawil is another word. Like last week, I think I indicated to something of that nature. That the meaning, and even I gave you like the book of Tabari and the rest, is a book of Tafsir, but he named it Tawil. So when I was why? So no, Tafsir is Tawil and Tawil is Tafsir. So therefore, that's why I said, when you ask them this verse, they no, the verse means to interpret, to give the commentary. Now,
there is this problem about knowing that each Arabic word has got different meanings.
Yes.
In this particular case, if they say it's the same thing.
Yeah, they said it's a similar meaning.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, to them. Although Ta'wil, sometimes it can be to discover, to disclose also. But to them, they said it's a similar meaning. There is a one word, it's a common word. It's the two words, they have one meaning. You see, that's another thing. So now, Shias, we said no, Ta'wil is our baby. But from where? From Ahlul Bayt alayhimu salatu wassalam. We cannot take from anyone. So therefore here what do we say? We said in-depth exploration of Quran or the meaning of the Quran can be, number one, to give a correct or valid example of an ayah. So number one, you see, you give a valid example of an ayah, which still is from Ahlul Bayt. Example of an ayah. When we say from Ahlul Bayt, they give you valid example of an ayah. In other words, this ayah, I'm giving an example, and this example, it matches, it fits in nicely. This is how they go about it. They say, okay, example of it means this particular ayah is not limiting itself to only one example. You may have a lot of examples. Yes.
But then where does Tafsir stop and Ta'wil start?
Tafsir begin first. Tafsir give you the apparent meaning.
No, we said Ta'wil is in-depth.
Yes, yes.
So when does that apparent meaning stop and in-depth
You know, the
start?
apparent meaning stop mostly in one meaning only. It gives you only one option.
So most of the tafsir are all Ta'wil then? like Tafsir al-Mizan, you'll find each ayat will have 3 apparent.
Excellent. Yeah.
But then the ta'wil part would be.
But you have to differentiate between Arabic terms. Sometimes Arabic term, it tell you this word means this, that's something else.
Yeah.
But this one, give you typical, practical example. Definitely when you read Mizan, even Makarim Shirazi al-Amfal, you'll find it give you another meaning is this. Or sometimes it doesn't say another, it said it could mean that, it could mean that, it could mean that, it could mean that. Okay? So this is another set of ta'wil, whereby I give you a valid example of what normally means. Tafsir, mostly what they do when you come to the verse, you first explore the meaning of that verse. Like first literal meaning of it. That is where you learn from tafsir. In ta'wil, you don't learn the literal meaning of that word anymore. Ta'wil, most of it is practical thing, which you come in practical. But in tafsir, no. I first have to know the literal meaning. Why Allah revealed it. Why it is revealed. Why can I trace the historical background of this? This all part of tafsir. Or masalan, as we talk, abrogated, non-abrogated, this all come to help you with your tafsir of Quran. This ta'wil, now you need somebody with sharp mind. Not everybody can come with really ta'wil. So therefore, another set of them, they said, is either you give a valid example. Like for instance, I give an example of this ayah 205, Quran 2. With an example of it is Muawiyah. It doesn't mean that when the verse is revealed, it's only on Muawiyah. But it's given another example of it. The same thing, the pearls and the coral. Another example, they say no. Another example of it is Hassan and Hussein. So therefore, tafsir, it stopped there, and then ta'wil takes from tafsir. But one thing we need to be mindful of, you cannot make ta'wil without knowing tafsir.
And that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Because most of the ayats relate to the Ahlul Bayt.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, how can it apply to us?
No, that's the tafsir. Most of the tafsir apply to us. They teach us. You know, they said in usul, every ibara you see in Quran, every verse, yes, it is revealed for a particular purpose during the lifetime of Rasulullah. But it is not limited for that purpose. La bi khususi sabab, the umum, as they say. And it transcends. Of course, there are certain things which even if you want to bring it today, it doesn't make sense. We have them. It has to remain there. It happened. It finished. Done. But most of the verses of Quran are not like that. It has to go and go and go and go and like that. So now let's just conclude this thing, then at least I know I'm done with this. So now this is number one. And so you give valid example. And another thing which it forms like part of it is to give in the hidden, if you like, hidden commentary, hidden interpretation. Hidden interpretation, you see? So long as it does not contradict the apparent meaning. That's very important. So long as hidden interpretation, so long as it does not, it doesn't contradict the apparent meaning. That's very important. Meaning of the verses. You cannot give ta'wil to contradict the tafsir. If a ta'wil contradicts the tafsir, then it's not ta'wil anymore. Or you cannot do ta'wil to contradict the established Islamic principles. If ta'wil contradicts established Islamic principles, then it's not ta'wil anymore. You cannot take it. So therefore, it cannot contradict the apparent meanings of the verses or establish Islamic principles. So therefore, ta'wil is permitted so long as there is a valid example to that verse. It's like you have, as said, one term, one word, it has a lot of branches of meaning which you want to go for. That is another one. Number two, it should not contradict Islamic established principles. If it contradicts, then we don't take that thing anymore. It's like tafsir is saying something, and then ta'wil comes and says something else which cannot be interconnected. Then it's something which you cannot take on it. Lastly, before we go on, prerequisite of tafsir. You know, you have some knowledges that are needed for one to start making tafsir and to start writing tafsir book. Okay? We have prerequisite or some conditions of tafsir. As I said, tafsir begin, then ta'wil comes. Number one, you need philology, which we explained. One has to be very good and well versed in language. Quran is revealed in Arabic language. If I want to write tafsir and I don't know Arabic language, it becomes a problem. Today we have many people, even in the West, they say, no, we write tafsir. And the person, he doesn't know Arabic well. He take English books, a lot of English, and I'm making my own tafsir. When Quran is revealed in Arabic, so for me to begin, I need to become a philologist or philology, someone who is expert and jurist in Arabic language, where I'm able to know the root of this language and the root of that, the root of this term and that word. That is very, very important. Number two, not only that, understanding the meaning of the words. You see, philology means you go deeper, you get to know the root. Now, understanding the meaning of the words is also very, very important. I need to understand this meaning. This word can be used in how many areas? Can be applied in how many fields? I need to know that. So therefore, when we say tafsir is limited to Ahl al-Bayt, all our ulama, the only copy from Ahl al-Bayt, people need to understand. It's not easy. Allah revealed it unto Ahl al-Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam. And of course, number three, you need that what we call morphology. This is that sarf. Sarf. You need to understand letters. Letters. Arabic alphabet, you see it like this. It's not only alif, ba, te, say, la, 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 la. How you connect it, how you join it, where it can. You need to understand. This is sarf. This is component of Arabic grammar. And then you need to know syntax, which is now. Now is grammar. But what do you mean by syntax? It means you need to understand if this letter appears in front of this word, the ending of that letter will either assume a or b or te, because this a, b, te can change the meaning completely. Ja'a, you cannot say Ja'a Muhammadan. If you say Ja'a Muhammadan, you have destroyed everything completely and you have tainted with the meaning. Ja'a Muhammadu, you say. Ra'aytu, you say Muhammadan. Marartu bi Muhammadi. So therefore you see the Arabic, the grammar is very, very important. And you need to know also rhetoric. That is balaga al-bayan. You know, this rhetoric, it teaches you to understand wise sayings. Poets. Some of the verses of Quran, if you look at them, they are in the form of poem. But now if you have not studied balaga, you'll not be able to identify how it is. So therefore, rhetoric also is a very, very important that one has to understand. And of course, number 5, you need to know hadith. Ilm al-hadith riwaya, ilm al-hadith diraya. You have ahad, mursal. One has to understand all these field of hadith, because now if I read hadith in terms of my interpretation of Quran and the hadith is not authentic, how do I do? I cannot separate whether it's, therefore you see our mufassirin, even Allama Tabarasi of Majma' al-Bayan, or you have Ayatullah Makarim Shirazi, for instance, you have Tafsir al-Qumi, for instance, you have all these tafsir of Quran, Min Wahy al-Quran, Sayyid Fadlullah, all these tafsir. You see, sometimes when they explain, they said it could be, possibly. You know why they use these terms? It's because now the person is not sure of that riwayah. If a riwayah which he knows and is authentic, he has really studied, he doesn't say it could be. He just tell you there is a riwayah and this is how it is. So understanding of the hadith is also very, very important. And of course, another thing also, understanding the harmony between the verses. You know, most of the verses of Quran, they have a harmony between them. This one is linked to that one is linked to that one. You may find a verse in Baqarah, some verse is linked to Ya Allah, maybe in chapter Yunus or chapter Yusuf. So now you need to do that background study for you to be able to know this one to that one is interconnected. That one to that one is interconnected. This one to this one. Like that, then one will be able to say, MashaAllah, I want to do tafsir. And of course, the last but not, this is not the only one. There are so many prerequisites, but this is just the major one. One has to avoid prejudgment before entering into tafsir of Quran. Meaning, I already have my belief. I have my faith. I already prejudged. Okay? Now I'm entering into this tafsir. With that, I continue. It doesn't work out like that. And as I said, myself, yourself, if you want to do your own tafsir, you then have to go and do all these field of studies based on your capability, and then you start. Of course, things like logic, things like philosophy, you need to understand them also to a certain extent, because some of the verses are very logical verses, and some of the verses are very philosophical verses. Even Mufassirin, sometimes they consult scientists in some issues, especially when they see the verse like it's talking, like our Maraji, some of the fatwas, if it has to do with science, they consult the scientists to get the real picture of what is happening. So inshallah, this brings us to the end of our ulum al-Quran. There are so many ulum al-Quran, but we cannot do much more than what we did for the whole 1 year. We've been doing that. Now inshallah, the next class we are going to start with the tafsir. And the chapter I want to begin with, you can make your own reading also. I told you I will do tafsir mawdu'i. Mawdu'i means topical. I will take topics and we do tafsir. And mostly Ahl al-Bayt. But now I want to begin with Surah Al-Fatiha. Very important tafsir of Surah Al-Fatiha is what, inshallah. So you can also do your own readings, inshallah, before we meet the next time, inshallah. We're going to do the tafsir of Surah Al-Fatiha until we finish. When we finish Fatiha, then we start taking verses that we Shia use to prove our argument about Ahlul Bayt. We have to do the tafsir of those verses. Gadir, for instance, why that verse? We have to explore it. Mubahila, why that verse? We have to explore and go into deep to understand them properly, inshallah. So therefore, Fatiha, you make research of Fatiha. You see Fatiha, you see it as a simple, but the tafsir of Fatiha is amazing. It's truly amazing. And if you understand it properly, I'm telling you, when you stand in Salah to recite it, it becomes something else. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين.